Decided to get an electric vehicle because my regular trusty old gasoline running low mileage car was old and got to the point where it really wasn't worth to get fixed anymore. So I said at what's called a transition point. The general advice is when you're at a transition point, when you need to change, when you need to get something new anyway, then go for the electric thing, whether it's for your house or your car.
We actually have 2 electric cars. Both of them are plug-in electric hybrids. After you look at rebates and everything, the plug-in hybrids were actually cheaper than comparable gasoline vehicles. My Volt was a $20,000 car, and her Prius was a couple of $1,000s less than a regular Prius would have been because of rebates.
The rebates.
And sales.
The Nissan Leaf had an incentive. Massachusetts offers a $2,500 mail-in rebate, and the federal government offers $7,500 in tax credit. But only for new cars and only for certain new electric cars. So it's only for cars that sell under an X amount. So literally, I got a brand new car for $18,000.
The fact that it uses electricity and the fact that we had solar panels and we could basically run the vehicle from electricity produced off the house was very attractive. And the Tesla, to be clear, we actually bought used. We didn't buy it new. So the price had come down a bit where it was in an affordable range.
It's also a very, very nice car to drive. It's a very comfortable car to drive, and it means that about 95 to 98% of the miles that we drive are all electric. And I can say that electric vehicles are really pleasant to drive. Got very good takeoff, very smooth ride.
It's actually pleasant to drive an electric car. It's very smooth, it's very quiet. It's peppy, I think, enough. And it's, yeah, I like it. I can feel the difference when this car, when I do go on a long trip and I use up the battery, once in a while that happens, and it goes on to gas, you tell the difference right away because it's louder. It just feels more clunky, actually.
Tesla is incredible to drive. It's extremely smooth and very comfortable to drive in. It's very, very good in rain and in snow, which you'd be surprised, but it's a very heavy car because of all the batteries, and that makes it stable.
Love to drive them. I didn't anticipate all that. I thought, oh, I'll feel good about using an electric vehicle for the environment, but I didn't know how much I would actually prefer driving an electric vehicle for all the reasons: the speed, the pickup, the lack of smell. Even when you start your car in the morning, you don't smell that gasoline smell in your garage if the doors are closed or that kind of thing. And you can, and I can sit and idle when I pick people up. I don't have to worry about the Massachusetts anti-idling law.
You never need to get an oil change again. It has very few needed repairs because there's so few moving parts. And in the winter, this is a bonus. You know how a gasoline car relies on the heat of the engine to actually heat up the interior? Well, this doesn't. It heats up within a few seconds. In the same way, when you turn on your toaster, it gets hot almost immediately. You don't have to wait, for a longer process. So, if anything, it's made my life easier.
The Prius is actually interesting because if you use the heater, it typically turns on the gasoline engine to provide the heat. Volt provides it from the battery. You can get quite a lot of heat, however, of it. You can make the cab as warm as you want. They encourage you to use the seat heater and the steering wheel heater because it's more efficient and you have less impact on your electric range. But to be honest, in cold weather, we just turn the heat on and use it, and our range is decreased.
The reliability are super high. You're never going into a gas station. There's no oil changes. There's no servicing. Tires you have to change. Neither car both cars are over 60,000 miles. Neither of them have needed brakes yet, and they probably won't because they use regenerative energy. They capture as opposed to using brakes to slow down. So the brakes don't wear down very much
Yeah,
at
it's
all.
really just tires.
Just tires. Tires are about the only thing you have to do on these cars. There's very low maintenance.
It's a great car to drive, super comfortable, all that sort of thing, as well as the decarbonization aspect, which really was appealing to me. The other nice thing about the Volt is it has a gasoline backup. So once the battery is fully used up, it switches to gasoline driven.
Will you be able to charge it if something happens? Well, living in New England, I can tell you that that is not much of a concern because I found out there are electric car charging stations all over. The vehicle I purchased gets about 150 miles on a charge. They make another little more expensive version where you get 250 miles on a charge. And I can tell you for my 36-mile round commute to and from church, that's not a big concern. I can tell you that it is way easier and less time consuming to occasionally plug in my car when I get home than it was to take it to a gas station every week, and spend, my goodness, 30, 35 bucks each week on gas. So that was not a concern at all.
This used plug-in hybrid car was affordable for me. Mostly these days I'm driving around locally, so I don't need a huge long range. And but I wanted the backup just in case. So anyway, that's why I went with that kind of car. Now, when I ever decide to get a different car, it will be all electric.
Once you've used up the miles on the charge, it goes to the standard Prius hybrid technology. So I basically hardly ever have to buy gas for the Prius Prime, except for when we go on long trips.
Yeah, the Prius Prime is actually a Prius with just an extra battery and a charging circuit. And once the battery is discharged, you still get 50 miles a gallon. So it's a very, very efficient car. On the Volt, it's a slightly different drivetrain, but the same basic behavior. It's got a gasoline engine in it that can keep you driving beyond the range of the battery. The Volt only gets 40 miles per gallon. The Prime gets 50, so we typically use the Prius Prime on our longer trips. It is a plug-in hybrid, so when the battery runs down, then you run on gasoline. And so there is no range problem outside of that of a normal car.
What they call range anxiety, and it does exist. You kind of have to think of it like a gas car that only goes to half tank. I've taken it skiing a few times where you have to plan to, you can make it there, but on the way back, you have to stop at a charging station. And there are many, Tesla has many supercharging stations along highways, pretty much throughout the country and the world, actually, to charge from maybe 10% up to 90% of a charge, which would be maybe adding 220 or 230 miles. That takes 30 to 45 minutes. So at a supercharging station. So you have to plan a meal or a cup of coffee or something. But Toyota RAV4, electric RAV4 that Kirsten drives, that one only goes about 100 miles or so, and even
in the summer and less in the winter.
Less in the
because
winter.
The cold really affects the batteries. I can go into Boston and back and,
You
sort of
can-
do almost anything I want to do in a normal day, just not like road trip.
Right. When I bought the car, it claimed 270 miles. It really only went about 250 or 255. And now we've owned it 4 or 5 years, and it's down to maybe 240 miles in the summer and 200 miles in the winter. It does start to get shorter. The batteries do degrade over time.
$2 or so for a charge on my car, a little over $1 for a charge on Margaret's. That's the kind of thing. Gasoline's cheaper, maintenance cheaper, and the car was cheaper to buy originally. And because we went with the plug-in hybrid, the extended range hybrids, long trips aren't a problem. We just use gas, and the rest of the time we're on electricity.
And because my car is an older Tesla, it's a Model S, but it's an older Model S. It came grandfathered in with charging for life. So we don't pay for charging. I mean, it's free from Tesla. And then the charging we do at home is fully from solar panels. So we don't pay for that either. So neither car has any cost to use for locomotion.
There's electric charging stations near the church. There's every Nissan dealership actually has free charging for their customers. So I stopped in Dedham and did a quick charge for 5 minutes, and it was plenty to get me back home. Part of the infrastructure bill that did pass, that is law, there is a lot of money in there for charging stations. Right now you find them typically at shopping centers, which works well because through the fast chargers it takes 30-45 minutes to get a full charge. So perfect. Stop at the mall, you plug it in, you do your thing, you come back, it's nothing at all.
It just uses regular household current. You know, I don't have a quick special charging station at my home. I just plug it into a regular electrical outlet. And it takes a while to recharge, but that's overnight. So, you know, no big deal.
The first thing you need to know about charging an electric vehicle is that there's 3 types of charging. There's level 1, which is by far the slowest, and that is, just an extension cord from a regular plug on your wall that can go out to your car. The one that most folks put on their house is a level 2 charger, and the Nissan Leaf comes with its own plug, a 10-foot long cable that you plug into the car. I live in a shared house, so I don't have a garage. So what I did was I hired an electrician to put a 240 volts outlet on the outside of my house. So he just ran a wire from the circuit breaker to the outside to this 240 volt plug. It's the same kind of plug you would use for a clothes dryer. And then you plug it in, and then 6-8 hours later it's fully charged. So if I'm low when I get home in the evening, I just plug it in and forget about it. The Nissan Leaf at least has an auto shut off, so it's not going to hurt the battery if you leave it plugged in beyond when it's fully charged. Then the other type of charging is level 3, which is what you'll find at commercial stations. And that you can charge a car in about 30 minutes, 45 minutes. Nissan dealerships actually will let you charge your Nissan for free there. But a lot of those stations are paid. And as far as cost, to hire the electrician and put the box on the outside of my house, that costs about $850. And it costs about $3 worth of electricity every time you charge it.
The charger was purchased. It's a Leviton, which is a pretty big name in chargers. It was purchased from eBay.
It's inside our garage.
It's
We
in our
installed it.
garage, and we paid a professional electrician to come in and install it while we were doing other electrical work anyway. So the incremental cost was not huge. I think I've heard other people get quotes as low as $800 and as much as $4,000. I think our incremental cost was $500 to have them pull the wire to install that. Again, we purchased the unit ourselves.
Do you recall how much the unit was?
The unit was about $300.
This is the most important car that Nissan makes. Why? Because it's affordable. Because that is what we need moving forward. We need electric cars not to be for the rich. We need them for everybody. So,
Do I feel like I'm making a difference to the carbon load in the whole world? I sure hope so. We got to do something.